A life shift is that moment when life changes course. You're shifting into a new chapter, sometimes as a result of loss, other times it's by choice. Today, I'm delighted to have Shaina Estadilla here to talk about her life shift. It's actually a career transition. And the overarching theme of today's episode is why I left corporate marketing to pursue my own brand. Shaina, I am so happy to have you here today. I am excited to have this conversation. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me. I'm actually really excited to just talk about my journey and share my story.
And I am excited to hear it. And I'm sure others are as well, because many of us are experiencing probably some of the things that you experienced leading up to it. And we're curious about the journey and where you are and what's to come. With that being said, when I think of you, Shaina, there are two words that come to mind. The first is you are thoughtful. And when I think of thoughtful, I think of someone that's emotionally intelligent, that's intentional, that's reflective. And then the second word that I've experienced with you is that you're influential. You move ideas and you move people. Those are the two words that I use to describe you. In your own words, though, how would you tell us more about yourself today and what's shaping this chapter for you?
Yeah, well, first, thank you so much. Those are such kind words to hear. But looking at myself today, I feel like in this current chapter, I'm someone who's trying to be deeply intentional with what I'm doing, and like what's shaping that is, after transitioning from like my corporate career, I realized that I was burnt out, right? And so
Oh,
I'm doing this like soft rebuilding, right? Whether that is rebuilding, my relationships in my life, and whether that's building this new business that I have that's very art and creative focused, and ultimately what my mindset shift has been instead of focusing solely on like achievement, which kind of was like a big driver in my life, which there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm more focusing on like how can I softly rebuild my life so it's more aligned with what I'm really valuing, what I want to be as like a person versus what I want to be as like a career.
yeah, that's really interesting. And I want to also add that you not only had this life transition, or the career transition rather, but you are the founder and creative director of Winnie Shine Designs. And so that is a huge title. That's a huge undertaking. And you mentioned that you were burnt out. So, what specifically, how do you define that burnout? What was happening to you in life to realize that it was time to leave corporate marketing and build something of your own?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's a realization that happened like over the course of say like 6 months. And it's actually kind of an ironic situation of how I realized I was burnt out. So, in the corporate world, there was an opportunity for me to climb up the corporate ladder, which I was really excited about. And so, for me, how I viewed myself at that time was like, oh, I need to become more mentally tough as I climb the corporate ladder. So because of that, I started going to therapy in the lens of like, how can I become stronger so that I could speak with different executives and like maybe not be so sensitive. Like that's how maybe I perceived myself. And then in that process of going to therapy, it made me actually take a step back and think about like, oh, who am I as a person? Like, what is my life at this moment? And what I realized was while I had achieved so much at my corporate job, like I was a very hard worker. Like within my time at my corporate job, I had been promoted twice in a very short amount of time. Thank you. But I realized like, oh, that was like my entire world. And that just didn't sit right with me. And when I reflected back on like, oh, what are relationships with like my family? Well, it's good, but it's not like I don't seek them out. When I think of like, oh, what am I going to be doing like when I get home? I feel like, oh, I don't even have time to call my parents. I don't have time to like talk to my partner. I need to write this document or, prepare for the next meeting or think about this next deliverable. And like that really made me realize that there was like a lot of internal work to do because that was what I wanted.
Yeah, no, and it's so great that you actually talk about therapy because a lot of times t therapy comes with a stigma. And to your point, it was an opportunity for you to find some, as you described it, mental toughness, but more importantly, to really take a look inwardly and realize that you were probably tough enough. And it allowed you to get a true reflection of what was going on in your surroundings and how you can move from where you were to what you have now become. And that actually makes me wonder more specifically, how did that transition challenge your sense of identity from going to this like corporate executive, moving up the corporate ladder to now this person who's doing inward work? And not only that, but now looking at doing something more on the creative side.
Yeah, it was a slow shift, right? So I think that therapy was the catalyst. It helped me think about like just taking a step back, what is like my life at that moment in time. And then in in slow steps, I decided to take a leave from my work to work on things like my health. Like I wasn't even doing basic things like eating or sleeping
Mm. Oh
right at
gosh.
that time. So it was like, I really do need to take a step back. And that actually was really hard. I remember the first month of medical leave, I just felt so guilty. I felt
Oh
like,
wow.
oh, I want to check my emails, like how is everyone doing? Because I led a really great high performing team, and like I felt bad stepping away. But then what really helped was, and leading me to like, where I am now is I thought about like, oh, what are things that, like, what are actually things that I want to do or things that I felt like I didn't have time to do, and just, it sounds systematic, but like tackle them one by one. And I think one thing that naturally came about was I always love art. I always love drawing. I felt like in my career, I didn't invest enough time in that, like because I wanted to focus on, the business, like my business, like not my business, but like the corporate business I was working on. And so like I drew so much when I was a kid. And so when I actually had like time and I wanted to take a step back and focus on me, I want to reconnect with something that I really loved doing as like a child. And so I started drawing again. And then I didn't know what I wanted to draw. And so then this is where Winnie comes in, because Winnie is a Winnie isn't my dog. I want to clarify that. He's a dog that I dog sit very frequently. And I think for him, he's kind of an inspiration. He's a reset for me because he was kind of one of the first things outside of work that I just found so much joy in. I'm like, oh, let's go on a walk together. Like, oh, I enjoy preparing your meal. Oh, let me teach you a new trick, right? And he just shows so much like, I mean, dogs show so much unconditional love. So I was like, oh, I want to capture all of those moments, you know, in my art. And so from there, it just kind of began to grow because I started posting that on like social media and showing my, and then I decided to like put these collection of drawings into like a coloring book, and then started showing like myself coloring my own pages on like Instagram and TikTok. And then from there, like, and this was in that 3 months of leave, it kind of naturally and organically started picking up and people started responding to it. Like at first it was more so like, oh, this art is so fun and so cute. But then I started inserting pieces of like my story into like my social posts of like, this is me recovering from burnout. This is my journey. And so from there, I also started to connect to people on that level, which was super meaningful.
That's great. And it's rewarding to hear. First of all, let's talk about dogs, right? To your point about unconditional love, completely loyal. Everyone, well, most people love dogs. And so it's so great that Winnie had that influence on you. But I'm sure also there was a little bit of fear to just completely step away and shift out of, you're within this great place of just healing and recovering, but then to now take where you were during those 3 months and then shift completely into like, this is going to be full on brand and business for me. Were there fears, or what did it take for you to fully step into that next step or chapter?
There were a lot of fears before finally deciding like to step away from the corporate world. I think one of the biggest fears is, or just to provide a little background, I'm a daughter of immigrants. So my parents immigrated over from the Philippines, and they had like $3 in their pocket when they first came here, and so for me, I think I was putting a lot of internal pressure on myself, and I always get emotional talking about this, but I put a lot of internal pressure on myself to make sure I was making them proud, and how I viewed making them proud at that time was like, achievement through career. And what was really great was during that 3 months of leave, I was able to just talk to them, have very candid conversations. And they were amazing. They were like, we want you to be happy. That's an achievement. And that lifted such a weight. And I think a lot of maybe folks who are children of immigrant parents probably feel that weight too. They sacrifice so much coming over here that you don't want to like waste that opportunity in a sense. But I had such a great support from my parents, great support from my sisters, great support from my partner. And to be fair, too, I had worked in the corporate world for a while. I was able to also look at my finances and be like, okay, I think I'm okay. I'm okay to take this jump. And I have the support. So I'm very lucky in that sense. And I don't think I could have necessarily done that without the support of, my family, my friends, my partner. And so really big shout out to all of them for their support.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. So thank you for being vulnerable and transparent and sharing. And I'd love to just like take a moment to give a complete round of applause and salute to your parents and to your siblings and to your partner for listening actively and supporting and allowing you to feel confident enough to step into this new chapter without any hesitation. So I'm so glad that you share that with us. And to your point, I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with that. We don't want to disappoint those around us. There's also not only disappointing those who sacrifice before us, but also this level of people pleasing that we have. That if everyone doesn't like us, or if we are not, as- accepted, then there might be something wrong with the way we are navigating our lives, even though that navigation may not lead us to something that is meaningful and happy. So I'm so happy that your parents and your family were supportive. And again, I just want to give them a round of applause. And that is not performative. It is actually heartfelt because I absolutely can understand that sense of love and support. And so thank you for sharing that with us. So, your work blends art and mindfulness and storytelling. And you told us a bit about how you love to draw and Winnie, like coming into this like celebrity status as just like this visiting dog that you were sitting on occasion. Um, Besides that, is there anything else that inspired what made you start the brand specifically within that group? Because you could have like used that as an inspiration and actually decided to do something different.
Yeah, I mean, if I look back at like what was really starting like this awakening of transition from corporate to where I am now, Winnie really was the star. And so like there was never a moment where I didn't feel like he wouldn't be the center. And I think because of that, or the reason for that, is because he represents like so many moments in life where it's like important to just be like present, like the simple pleasures. Like he's always present. He's a very present dog. Like wherever I am, he'll follow me. He enjoys food so much. Like the pleasures of enjoying food. He knows the importance of rest. Like he takes the best naps. And so like I think maybe for me, like I also wanted to put myself I want to be Winnie basically, right? He just represents so many things of just like being present, representing like simple pleasures. Like it's nothing crazy. Taking a nap isn't anything like insane, but rest is so important and it's so underrated. So I want to weave that into like all of the different things that I do.
I love that. I love how Winnie became the center of your brand identity. And I believe Winnie is in the vicinity. Is he
Yes,
not?
he
Can
is.
Winnie
He
make
like
an appearance?
he can. Winnie, come up here. Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Boy.
For a treat. Hello, Winnie.
Very food motivated, and then
I
he'll probably
love
take a
it.
nap right next to me at one point. You're so kind.
Winnie's like, I am going to completely personify what you just stated. Love food. Thank you for the treat and love
He's
naps.
settling in. He's
I'm
like,
now
all
going
right,
to
time
go
for a
back to
meal.
resting.
Yeah.
Love that. I love that. I love that he brings you joy and he brings the rest of us joy who experience him through your products. And I know that in addition to the creative work, which you absolutely love and it inspires you to do the work, you're still running a business, Shaina. And what running a business requires operational realities. What skills from your marketing background have been most useful as you've been running this business?
Oh man, so many. And I think I'm really first off, I think I'm really fortunate because my background is like art and business, and I actually really love both. So it's great that I can combine them together. But from like the marketing perspective, a few skills that I brought to the table are one, digital marketing. So putting together an email newsletter comes so naturally. Putting together like a social media plan, I find really fun. And then layering, I guess, on top of all of that is this aspect of storytelling, which is so important. And so that's something I would practice, say, in the corporate world, but it's something I get to practice. That's something very personal within my own brand, which I really enjoy.
I'm going to take this moment. We had an appearance from Winnie, and I am also able to share a box that I received from Winnie Shine Designs. Got this really, really cool card that, to your point about your marketing skills, made with love, right? That stopped me right there. That was the headline. And that invoked this moment of warmth in me. So thank you. I will read that later. And let's just see what else. Oh my goodness. Oh gosh. Got some really great things in here. Great.
Uh,
Do not disturb. Love it. Stickers. Oh no, this is a magnet bookmark. I love. Oh my goodness. And I'm reading a lot now. So this is perfect. I've been looking for great bookmarks and stickers. I love a sticker.
yeah.
Okay, let's see. This is a card. Chase your dreams. All right. Thank you. You okay. You know what, Shayna and Winnie? You got this. Clearly, you must have understood what my day started off like. I appreciate these so much. And there's more. And there's more. This looks like a notebook pile on the cozy. Love it. Oh, okay. Do I have time for a wardrobe
Exactly.
change? Because this is the cutest. Wait, let me see if I can pull it up. This is so cute. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So cute. Thank you. Aw, I love it. And a Frenchy essentials. Oh my goodness. Let me see if we can see that. Thank you so much. It's beautiful. And I also have some coloring books. And I have a journal. So I can't wait to start utilizing those as well. And we will put in this recording and in the link, we'll have links to all the ways that people can support your business and also buy these amazing things for themselves to give themselves the same joy that you receive when you were making them.
Yay, thank you. Hi, I'm Shaina from Winnie Shine Designs. If you would like to experience some of my designs for yourself, you can check them out at www.winnieshinedesigns.com or on social media at Winnie Shine Designs. Hope to see you there.
I am going to shift back a little bit, back to the feedback from the community. You mentioned that you were surprised by the feedback from not only your family, but from an external community, like when you were starting to post on social media. How has that shaped the way you think about growth?
Yeah, I mean, I think when folks were starting to comment on my posts that were a little bit more insightful, right, into my journey of experiencing burnout, and people were saying, I'm experiencing the same thing, whether they were in the middle of realizing they were experiencing burnout to, hey, I just left my corporate job too. I'm starting my own business. It made me feel like what I was doing was a little bit bigger. And so, like, it really made me think about, oh, what are the values that I want to place at the forefront of what I'm working on, right? And so what I wanted to do was to be able to provide some way for people to be able to relax and use the things that I have to maybe have that cozy moment, whether that be picking up a journal to start journaling. If that's your thing, put on a cozy sweatshirt and like put on a cozy
Yes.
movie. Whether that's taking a coloring book and just spending 10 minutes just focusing on coloring. So that's kind of the mood I want to bring to my brand, where people can find like those mini escapes to focus on themselves and find like comfort and joy, whether you are experience whether you're in the corporate world or not. I think that that's something that we all deserve and we don't get.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
No, no, please continue.
Oh,
I was
no,
just agreeing.
that was it. That was it. I think I think it's just so underrated. Like thinking about like self care. Like we put ourselves to the side so often. So I think just providing these little vehicles for people to be able to do that um, means a lot to me.
Yeah, no, that is so true. And it's interesting because I've been working personally with a wellness coach. And one of the pillars that we talk about is creativity. And to your point, sometimes we use creativity, or what I think about creativity is all encompassing around like how do I create at work, or how do I create the next great process, or how do I create another, big idea to move my corporate work forward. But never just like how do I just like sit with myself and think and read and journal and just, to your point, like experience joy. One of the things about this podcast is that this content shift for me in the terms of life shifts was anchored in loss of my mother. And it's so important to me now, to your point, to just like sit back and think about like all the wonderful ways and things that she had left within me to bring joy. And so I absolutely can't wait to start journaling some of the things that I like, some of the memories I have of her. So I appreciate you thinking more so about not only like what it did for you, but how that also can help others and resonate with others. That, to your point, you don't even have to be in a corporate world and be experiencing burnout, or you could just be experiencing some type of loss. And that's the other thing too. For me, I journaled when my mother first passed away, and it's just an opportunity to look at a beautiful dog and see a beautiful message, and write down some really important memories. So thank you for thinking. And again, back to my point about you just being so thoughtful and intentional and just emotionally intelligent, right? Like, you move ideas, you're influencing the way we will show up ourselves as we begin to manage through like some of our own life transitions. And so Winnie Shine's brand, I'm sure you're already thinking about like what's next. You're also forward thinking. So from a brand evolution perspective, what's next?
Oh, this is the fun part. So, what's next for Winnie Shine Designs is I'm really trying to expand the Winnie Shine universe. We, of course, have Winnie, who's sleeping here now. And me, he represents like those simple pleasures, like remember to take rest, enjoy good food, be present. But I have other furry friends in my life. For example, I have a 6 month old puppy named Poppy, and she's also a French bulldog, but she's so different from Winston in the best way. She is spicy, she is confident, she's not afraid to try new things. Uh, and so the next chapter of Winnie Shine Designs is expanding that universe of, you know, along that theme of the furry friends, but other inspirations in my life of different personas that maybe people can relate to more, and encourage more of those like different aspects of like adventure that maybe people can integrate in their world. So how that's looking to be is, Poppy will soon be featured in many new products. Uh,
Yay.
and I'm also looking to see if I can write some children's books of the adventures of Winnie and Poppy, because they have like the sweetest relationship and they have very different personalities.
I
So I
love
think there's
that.
great stories that I could write about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's stories that we as adults can learn from their relationship, even though they are furry friends. But how do we navigate relationships with people that whose characteristics and their behaviors may be different from ours? I can't wait to read what you produce and publish, because again, I know that it might be a children's book, but we as adults can learn a lot from children's books, and just the innocence and all of, to your point, like the simple pleasures that you'll be able to convey in your writing. So I'm excited to see what's next. And I know that, you've mentioned how just utilizing Winnie Shine's brand and the creativity and all that parts have absolutely helped you with managing stress and alleviate in some of the pressures that you might have experienced previously. I'm also wondering though, from a creative perspective, how do you protect that creative energy? Because again, and I don't want to keep coming back to it, but you're still running a business, right? In order for it to be profitable at some point, I don't know where you are now, we don't need to discuss that, but at some point you want to be able to have some type of outcome that sustains it. And so with that, how do you protect your creative energy?
Yeah. So when it comes to protecting like that creative energy, one thing that I'm allowing myself to do, which I didn't allow myself to do before, is take those breaks. And by doing that, some of that is one, like hanging out with like family, friends, very intentionally doing that more. Um, Planning like a trip in the future, so I know there'll be a break upcoming. And ironically, when I do take those breaks, like that's when I get my next inspiration for the next thing that I should do. And that also like re-energizes me to like take on different aspects of the business that maybe I hadn't thought about previously. So as an example of that, I had been online exclusively for like the first maybe like 6 months of starting my business. And then I think I took like a month break off because I went to, like Hawaii or something. But during that time in Hawaii, um, like I had just been like looking online. I saw like, oh wait, there are like markets you can do in person, and like you can sell things in person and connect with people in person. And if I had just been so like bogged down on thinking like, oh, how can I improve things online, I wouldn't have had the idea of like, oh, let's try and sell things at in-person markets. And that's been really fun, because I get to connect with customers in person. And so it's not perfect. Sometimes I do find myself like awake past midnight drawing, but I find that I'm able to recognize that maybe a little faster now and be like, whoa, 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 you need to sleep. Right. But
Yes,
also enjoy
yes.
it. So it's like a a balance that we always probably will need to work on.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's just that healthy integration, right? Where you know that okay, you've kind of over indexed too much. Now it's time to kind of pull it in. So it's actually good though, to your point that that's progress, that's growth, that you're recognizing it sooner and you're not just pushing through it despite how you're feeling and just to get to that other side. And you mentioned earlier that one of the things too, as you began to promote your, or not even promote, but just share your writing and what you were experiencing from a burnout perspective and your creativity, it started to resonate with others. And other people started saying, hey, I too want to build a business. I too am in this place where I'm thinking about there's more than what I have now. I'm all about actionable insights. Like I want people to be able to walk away with something they can do today. And so with that being said, for someone who's sensing that similar shift, that career transition and considering a pivot to something that's more creative or passion driven, what advice would you offer?
Yeah, I think the first thing that I would say is lean into it. Like don't ignore it and push it to the side. And by leaning into it, I mean like think about, okay, what is that one thing that maybe like as a kid that I really enjoyed creatively that I always just put to the side? And maybe at first just spend like an hour, or it can even be even less, it can be like 10 minutes, like just exploring what that looks like. And I think the other piece of advice too is like these changes don't have to happen like overnight. Like I think I spent, you know, a good 6 months at first just like realizing like, oh, this isn't what I want my life to be. And so then I really like kind of did the work and be like, what do I want my life to be? And what are things I really enjoy? And like I think they mentioned this concept of like inner child. Like what's something that like young me would really want to do? Okay, let's go for it, right? Let me lean into it. Let's not ignore it. And so I think that's something that I think a lot of people, whether they're facing like a corporate shift or are maybe just experiencing a bit of burnout in their own life, can use to help alleviate that.
Thank you. I am going to actually utilize that advice for myself. I love, as a child, I've always loved to talk. There's a picture of me with a phone, a toy phone in my ear. So I think this is where I was intended to be, just talking to people because I love to talk and listen and learn. And so I really appreciate you spending time with me today and sharing with the audience of listeners. I like to end these sessions or these podcast episodes rather with a final multi-part but fun question. And so this is all about, you said Winnie had a treat. Winnie likes to eat. So this is about treats and snacks and things. And so with that being said, I have two-part question. The first part is, are you team sweet with regard to snacks or desserts and treats, or are you team savory?
Oh my goodness. I am team sweet. I always joke that I have a second stomach for sweets. So I could have a huge savory meal, but I will always have room for some sort of dessert.
I love it. I love it. Okay, let's follow up. Like, what is the sweet thing that satisfies you this day, like today or in this period of your life? And what does that actually say about you in this chapter right now?
I mean, I love ice cream. Maybe because ice
Team ice
cream,
cream here.
like, and it could be a sorbet, it could be vanilla ice cream. But maybe what that says about me is because ice cream melts, it's like, yeah, enjoy the here and now, enjoy the sweetness that is right in front of you.
I love that. Oh, I'm team ice cream, but I've never thought about it that way. Enjoy the sweetness that's in front of you. Shayna, thank you so much for spending time with me and the audience today. It was an absolute delight hearing about your transition from corporate marketing to building your own brand. I've learned so much myself and things that I can take away, and I'm sure the audience has too. So, those of you that are watching or listening, thank you for being a part of Shellie's Soapbox today. And remember to take a look at all the wonderful things that Winnie Shine Design has to offer. Thank you.